Okay, so we spoke about the importance of external relationship management. Now let's take a moment to look into internal relationship management. So we've talked about how you relate to your clients and customers, but internal relationship management is a bit different. It's about how you relate to the people that you're working with. So let's take a look at what that means. It's going to sound similar. Coworkers are busy. Everyone comes to work every day with the things that they need to do, and that's their focus, right? So they're there to get those things done, and in a perfect world, that means they're busy handling those things. I'll tell you in a moment why that's important. So here's the other thing. Not only are they busy, but again, in a perfect world, they know their jobs. And what that means is when they talk, you got to be ready to learn. Doesn't mean that you don't have proper places to have input. It just means that if you're new to a job, there is the opportunity to learn that job, even if you were doing the same job in a different place. The opportunity to learn will present itself in the form of, for one thing, coworkers. It doesn't mean you do everything they say. It means that listening to them will give you some insight to the environment. It'll give you some insight into everything from your superiors to conditions with customers to whether the product delivers to whether the services work as they should. You'll understand the challenges. It doesn't mean that you should commiserate. Again, I said they talk, be ready to learn, which is the same as be ready to listen as opposed to exchanging ideas at that point. This is part of you learning what you're doing and what the position is and how you can find a role for yourself and make yourself valuable. Also, when you're new to a position, let's be honest, this is something people don't talk about, and it is a foundational piece of relationship management. Very frequently, they just don't believe you. They don't know that you can do anything better than they can do, or they may not even understand why you were hired. You may need to prove yourself. So the way to look at that is that, not that they don't trust you, but that they just don't know you. So be transparent. That's a fancier way of saying prove it. Do what you say what you're going to do, be accountable, and in that respect, you'll get to a place where people can have the kind of trust in you they need for you to be effective. Also know that they were there before you. They may know the score. They may know what's happening there at all times. That means that you should be honest. If you make a mistake, it's probably not anything they've never seen before. It's probably not something that they themselves haven't done. So it's not something that's going to cause you to lose your job. So just be open, just be honest. Let them know you don't know, or let them know that you've made an error so that you can learn from that and you can keep progressing. It's really very basic stuff. That's why I say what you do matters, so own it. Now, how is that important? If you know that people can see what you do and they can judge, and they will judge what you do, then it's best that you own it and understand that what you do matters. The best way to think about this is it means that you don't have an invisibility cloak, so to speak. You don't have the ability to skirt the issue. You have the responsibility to do what you came there to do and own that, and in that way your accountability factor goes up, and that's a key part of managing relationships. If you are a known entity, meaning you are consistently saying and doing the right things and also doing what you say and saying what you do, then in that way you become more of a key player because they know they can count on you on some level. That's a critical thing to understand. And this is why. Because they will, just like your external customer, they will talk about you. And if you do the right things, you have a better chance to be your own best source of information about yourself. Okay? It's just that simple. So again, the way you think about your external clients and customers is the way you should think about your internal clients and customers. They don't owe you anything. And in the relationship you have with them on the job, the best way to advance yourself is to be consistently who you are. And in doing that, you have a chance to be your own best PR person. What you're looking for is you're looking to be a part of a group, a part of a unit to be all at once distinct as your own person, but also to be a team member that people can depend on. If you respect their time, if you try to learn what you can from them about the job that you're doing, which would be some of the unofficial things that need to be done in order to make yourself effective, if you listen when they're talking at the appropriate times, if you also understand that you may have to prove yourself, there's really nothing wrong with you having to prove yourself. It is in fact an opportunity for you to distinguish yourself. If you understand that they already know the job in many cases, so if you're falling short on something, it'd be better to be honest, to own that and get the help you need. And if you understand that you were hired to do something that matters, and if you treat it like it matters, you'll invest better. And if you invest better, you'll be your own PR source for good information about who you are. If you can do those things, then you will in fact be a better employee, a better team member, and in doing those things, you'll actually master some of the skills and some of the things related to internal relationship management. Now, let's look at the risk-reward comparison. This is important because whenever someone presents anyone with a list of things to do that seems to be over and above what's normally required, the question's always going to be why? Why would I do that? Why should I do that? And so you have to kind of say, hey, look, let's take a look at the risk-reward here. And in doing that, come up with some motivations, right? So let's look at the rewards of getting it right, okay? A tension-free workplace. Now, there's going to be tensions that are not related to you in a workplace. There'll be, maybe it's a pressure-filled environment. But if you know you've done your best and you are an accountable person, then you can come in on a daily basis and have minimal tension in terms of what the environment is offering. That's important. If you are that accountable person who helps where you can and who learns where you can and applies what you learn, then you'll find that you can actually get more help than ever. I challenge anyone who's been in the work environment for any more than 2 or 3 years to come up with any situation where they can't think of a person who refused to be helped, but always needed help. And ultimately what ends up happening is you say to yourself, let that guy or let that girl sink or swim on their own. That would come as a result of you offering help and the help not being received. So understand that if you get this right, you actually usually can receive more help than you ever did before, and that is a critical component to succeeding in a job. Another component of getting this right is if you're getting help from the people around you, it can lead actually to stronger sales abilities. It can lead not only for the team to have stronger sales abilities, but also for you because you're getting cross-trained, you're getting help from people who have done it before, you're learning some of the shortcuts. That only happens when there's a spirit of cooperation, and that only happens when you have strong relationship skills. In the external world, it means more referrals. It means that people like you because you're a connector sort of person. They feel good about referring you to people they know. That only happens again when you're good at relationship management. That also can shorten your sales cycles because when someone feels good, they ask less questions, they make less demands, and you have to prove less, and that can shorten your cycles. Of course, that naturally means more success. But now let's look at what getting it wrong will mean. Mounting tensions. It means that on a daily basis, if you're in an environment where your customers don't feel good about you, you've got to chase them, you don't get to connect with them, you never establish relationships, so you will be more tense every day. It also means if your coworkers don't feel good about you or you don't feel good about them, you end up with the same sort of set of challenges. How do you get good work done in a bad environment? That means you're having mounting tensions. That's a natural risk if you don't get this right. That'll lead to that on my own feeling. The worst feeling in the world is to be a part of a team but not feel like you're part of the team. You don't get to feel good on a day-to-day basis. You don't get to enjoy. And by the way, it also impacts your motivation. So it helps you Not at all, okay? And of course, if your clients don't feel good about you, your prospects don't feel good about you because you're not connecting with them, then it makes you have to struggle to close every deal. That's what happens to people when they end up saying, hey, sales is not for me. It usually is because they haven't mastered these connective pieces, and therefore they create a bigger gap between where they are and where they need to be. Naturally, it means less referrals as well. It will extend any sales cycle because, again, you have to prove yourself more often and more consistently through the process. And it makes everything less predictable because you create more wild sort of tangents for yourself. You don't want that. And of course, it makes success harder to attain. So that's what you're looking at here. Again, risk reward, what's important and what's not. This is why you want to manage relationships well and effectively on a daily basis.